I'd like to share a little bit about how my personal self-compassion practice, or lack thereof, ripples to my children. And I'll start with tender self-compassion, which is comforting, and then I'll share a fierce self-compassion story. So prior to learning self-compassion, when I struggled, I tried to fix my problems. And when my older daughter, who was 4 at the time, would have her tantrums, I would try to fix her, which turned out to be really unhelpful. When I learned to comfort myself with self-compassion, I learned to hold myself when I was struggling lovingly. And then I learned the ripple was I learned to hold my daughter when she was struggling, which turned out to be exactly what she needed when she was melting down. Not a fix, but a lovingly being with. Now, fast forward a decade, and I'm developing a fierce self-compassion practice, which can help me to motivate myself with kindness instead of criticism. So prior to having a fierce self-compassion practice, when I was struggling, I wanted to get something done, there'd oftentimes be like a little critical voice that said, why don't you do this? Come on, you know this matters to you. And it wasn't exactly mean, but it had a tone that kind of would tamp me down. And then I started to practice fierce self-compassion. I started to learn how to say to myself, you can do hard things, Jamie Lynn. You're here. I believe in you. What resources do you need to make progress on this project that matters to you? Right? So I started to learn how to motivate myself with kindness. Well, here's what this looked like with my children. Before I had fierce self-compassion, when my daughter, now 14, would be supposed to working on her homework, I would say to her, why don't you do your homework? You know, you need to do your homework. Again, not bad, but like the tone would be a little like, Well, as I developed a personal fierce self-compassion practice, my voice started to sound different toward my daughter. So instead of saying to her, why aren't you doing your homework? I'd say, you know what? I think this homework really needs to get done. Do you agree? Is there a way I can support you? Do you want to sit next to me? What do you need? I believe in you. So again, sometimes grown-ups want to jump to learning how to support their kids without necessarily internalizing both tender and fierce self-compassion. And my own experience has really been that when I focus on developing my own internal voice, that internal voice ripples into my interactions with my children. And then bonus, that becomes their internal voice.